And then finally, you're all asking me, because you're business leaders, does this make money? What about the time, the investment, and the risk involved in this? Although it is lower than the traditional forms of exporting and other forms of co-partnering with people, where does the money come from? How do I realize value through this? Well, this is perhaps the most exciting part. Because in a world where your market value as a company is dominated largely through intangibles, largely through your intellectual property, your ideas, your patents, the things you have, actually the uniqueness which you choose to work with the shark probably captures the majority of your intellectual property, and therefore it becomes the most valuable thing. It also might become the most valuable thing within the shark's offer too. So you might find you're the most valuable ingredient within the shark's company if you were part of them. We've done some work. We've looked at pilot fish strategies all around the world. Be they Intel, be they Lycra, be they YKK, be they Hella. And what is it? What is the value which is created through that? Well, typically, there's two ways of creating value year after year after year in terms of increasing the profitability. One is to reduce the costs in terms of the broadness of your portfolio, reduce the costs in terms of the cost of getting into new markets, reduce the cost in terms of the cost of capital, in terms of the risk involved in your business, and reduce the cost in terms of the innovation costs because you're working with a partner all the time. So one way is to reduce cost year after year after year. The bigger way is to increase revenues because you're reaching out to those new markets. You're reaching out to those growth markets, which are not just about putting products into the country next to you, but about finding the best growth markets in the world. And therefore finding the revenue growth through adding value, creating a greater perceived value where people will pay more for it, creating a brand like Intel or Lycra where people are prepared to pay more for the clothing or the computer, and then for the amount which the shark will pay you is greater as well. And so the revenues grow as well. And typically, if you look at a successful company when they export around the world, they can double their value in about 7 years, double their intrinsic value of their business, the sum of the future cash flows, the market value, if you like, if you're a public company. A pilot fish can do it in about 4 years, 4 to 5 years. So we think there's a great value creation argument in terms of reducing risk and accessing the high growth markets in a different way as well. If you look at Gore-Tex, W.L. Gore is a company becoming one of the most admired companies in the world now because of its pilot fish strategy to take Gore-Tex, a small little technological fiber which enabled the body to breathe but the rain not to come in, and helping companies all around the world, any company who makes outdoor clothing or footwear, to apply Gore-Tex more than anything else to their clothing. And Gore, as a company, has been incredibly successful and is now ranked at number 42 in the Fortune 500. If you look at Wuxi Pharmatech, completely different company, business-to-business company. Wuxi Pharmatech have grown at 300% over the last 3 years. Phenomenal! How have they done that? Not by making pharmaceuticals, but by making other people's pharmaceuticals. So they're an outsourced research lab. So at a time when other pharmaceutical companies are saying, how can we reduce our research costs, or how can we get somebody else to do them? Wuxi Pharmatech have said, we will do it for you. We're there. And just last month, in April 2010, so 2 weeks ago, Wuxi Pharmatech was acquired by River Charles Labs. And they are now one of the most valuable, River Charles Labs and Wuxi together, one of the most valuable pharmaceutical companies in the world. They don't make the pharmaceuticals, they add value to all of the other companies which do. They're a pilot fish. And if you look, the final one, and you remember over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the craze for Crocs, Those little rubber shoes for sailing or for wearing outdoors for your kids or for in the garden or on vacation. The Crocs grew like mad in terms of the growth of their market and the demand for them across the world. It was a craze. But the even bigger craze was not to buy Crocs which were red or blue and the same as everybody else, but I wanted to be different. And so there was a small little company. It grew up in the kitchen in San Francisco of a small house by a lady called Sandra Anderson. And she made little giblets, for putting on side the Crocs. She made them, first of all, with dough, and then she made them with ceramics later on. But these little gibbets became incredibly high demand from people who wanted to customize their Crocs. And within 18 months of her starting her homemade business, making little gibbets in San Francisco for the kids and other people, mainly kids, I guess, who have their Crocs. Crocs as a company paid her $20 million for her business in 18 months. Wow.